All right, we are live. Should be getting an alert from YouTube in a second.
Come. Is it 9:17?
All right, there we go. All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Want to start off by giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahak double honor
Kadash.
to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the Akim teaching about the mind while I'm out. That's the sincerity and truth. It's the brothers from Great Millstone, DC, Great Millstone, Houston, Great Millstone, Dallas, and the Lord allowed us another opportunity to bring out this word, to prophesy the downfall of Babylon the Great, which is America. And the Elder Money Gun came up with some precepts as far as the similarities between Rome and Babylon, which as prophets, we understand that Daniel chapter 7 is coming into play, where it goes into those four beasts and those kingdoms and all these different things, and how Yahweh Shai put the spirit on us to be able to discern in these times and to go into these scriptures. So, Lord willing, this thing will be edifying to the hopeful elect. And hey, the rest of the world, it is what it is with y'all. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about Yahweh Shai feeding the elect and delivering the elect. Nothing else matters to us, even though we have to deal with everything else. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, man, being able to see the end of this captivity is a blessing. So, hey, y'all got it. Let's get it.
Yeah, I got a preset. Start off here. Y'all can hear me okay?
Con.
Con.
It's Jeremiah or Jeremiah chapter
You
18
want me
and
to read it
verse.
for you?
Yeah, Bakusha, you can get Jeremiah 18 and 7.
Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 7. At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it.
Right. So every kingdom that's ever ruled has been listed in the scriptures, and when Esau will try to use his science to say that it's not, because with all the different versions of AI, ChatGPT, Gronk, and all these other ones, even just Google and DuckDuckGo, these search engines that have AI, if you ask, are all empires and kingdoms that ever ruled and will rule listed in the scriptures, it'll say no. But then it'll go into Daniel's vision and go through Babylon, Persian, the Medes, Greeks, Romans, so forth and so on. But then it stops. But the Lord says, "At what concerning a nation, what shall I speak to pluck up and pull down?" So the Lord is in control of all empires. All right, He set them all up, just like Pharaoh. It says in Romans that He raised up Pharaoh just to show His power. It's the same thing that He's doing with Babylon the Great, or your modern day Rome. All right, that we're gonna show little similarities, and he's gonna pull it down just like he pulled down the ancient Roman Empire that conquered the known world at that time. All right. So one more time, Bakushan, read that precept.
All right, I got a precept after that for you. This is Jeremiah 18 and 7. At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it.
Yeah, and to destroy it. So that's the spirit that we're in as prophets. Prophets of Yahweh by Shema Bashai. We're here to tell you what captivity you're in, where it is in the scriptures, who you are according to the scriptures, whether you're an Israelite or whether you're a heathen. The scriptures say that we're a prophet to the nations, okay, and to prophesy unto the nations, like it says in Isaiah 34. And the main nation that we're prophesying against now is your modern day Rome. All right, and there's way too many similarities to make it undeniable. All right, yeah, another one. Yeah, another precept.
It's Sirach chapter 10, starting at verse 14. It says, the Lord hath cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. The Lord hath plucked up the roots of proud nations and planted the lowly in their place. The Lord overthrew countries of the heathen and destroyed them to the foundations of the earth. Just backing you up on that point that the Lord is always in control, and first of all, the kingdom that's going to stand forever is for us, man. Okay, so whatever kingdom that's came throughout history had to fall at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now let me get this video. Just hold this spot. I'm gonna play this video.
At the original name. Let's look at the original name of Washington, D.C. Back before it was known as Washington, D.C., this land on 7 hills had a name. What was that name? Rome. No kidding. You can look this up. Rome, Maryland. And this is probably old news for some of you. I did not know this until the other day. I was just aware of the Rome connection because of the symbols that they have. I've never really looked much further into it than that. But D.C. was known as Rome, Maryland. And the guy, listen to this. This is going to blow your mind. The guy who owned it, the guy who owned the land, the plot of land where the Capitol building was, his name was Francis Pope. And I was on a Catholic website looking up some information as I was digging through all this. And they said, yes, this guy's name was Francis Pope, and his nickname was Pope of Rome on the Tiber. Because there was a little creek that went through there that they had named the Tiber. And if you don't know, the Tiber River is in Rome, and we have a Pope called Pope Francis in the year 2021. You cannot make this up. I thought this was something I could just fact check and be like, this is wrong. I'm going to fact check it. It's wrong, like the Facebook fact checkers.
And then he's saying this. He's saying this because
or was a guy.
He's saying this because in D.C., Potomac River divides, separates D.C. from Virginia. There's a river that runs straight through D.C., just like Rome.
Named Francis Pope on the property records, and the place was called Rome. That's not where it ends. It does. It always gets deeper and deeper. There was a guy who owned the 10 square mile area that DC is on. The owner of that community was a man named Daniel Carroll. He was the chairman of a 3-man commission appointed by President George Washington to find a suitable location for the Capitol. And he was also one of the names on the Declaration of Independence. He was a Roman Catholic educated by Jesuits in Maryland and France. This goes way deeper than you could imagine, and it reveals so much about where we are right now in the world. It seems like all of the predictive programming has pointed to this time, and all of the things that they did in the foundation of America to have a Francis Pope. And now we have Pope Francis, and it was called Rome back then. Okay, on a serious note,
yeah, so
let's look at the original.
So we have these actual historical facts, physical things, carnal things that we can look at to point, say this is Rome. But remember, we're spiritual. All right. In order to understand the scriptures and prophecy and what we're even talking about, it has to be understood spiritually first. A natural man like this guy is a natural man. He's got this information, but he don't know what the hell to do with it, See, we have the information. We know what to do with it. Because Rome is going to fall again. I'm pretty sure this guy believes America might fall, right? But it's going to bounce back. Rome is not bouncing back this time. Right.
Just like the Apostle Gabar did a video a couple days ago, going into places being spiritually known as.
Yeah.
See, so the spirit of Rome, it goes. It's according to the prophecy, right? Rome was gonna fall. They was gonna go into captivity, right? Pursuant to Revelation 20. Mm-hmm. You see, it talks about that beast. Let's get that. It talks about the beast being wounded and that deadly wound being healed. You see? So what that's going into is going into the fall of the Roman Empire and going into captivity and then being reborn in the Renaissance period. You see? So being able to put these prophecies together is the gift that's been given to us. That's why we can say that America and Rome is that beast, is that fourth beast. being taken down and revived pursuant to the prophecy in Daniel. We see these things now. You got it.
Absolutely.
You want to Revelation 13 and 3?
What
The
what it say?
It's Revelation 13 and 3, and I saw one of his head as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
Now, see, when you link that with Revelation 20, it's going into that fall of the Roman Empire and then being rebirthed in the Renaissance. You see, those precepts go together, and we able to see through the Spirit that this is the time that we in, because you measure the time that you in based on the prophecies.
Right.
You know, you got it. You got something on the gun?
Yeah, I got Revelation 20. I was going to start at the top.
Okay.
It says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years."
Right. That 1,000 years is going from the fall of the pagan Roman Empire all the way up through the Dark Ages, all the way up to the Renaissance. That's going from white people ruling to dark nations ruling for a period of time back to white. So you can understand.
Right. Approximately from
it went from Edom. It went from Edomites to wicked Jakes back to Edomites. This is the time frame that's being talked about in these precepts that we're going into. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I was going to say that time frame was from about looking here 325 about 325 AD right up into the 1300s. You know, so about 1,000 years, roughly 1,000 years.
And the bubonic and the pneumonic plague played a huge role. I would say between between those plagues and Esau's lies and treachery, it ushered in a new rulership.
Yeah.
You see, that's how Esau was able to regain or be rebirthed during the Renaissance. You see, that deadly wound was healed.
Yeah.
You got it.
And the one way that was healed, and you read in Revelation 13th chapter, and I think it's Daniel the 2nd chapter, with the 10 toes, because after Rome ruled, then you had these 10 like what you call like vassal states or whatever, and they gave their power over to Rome. So Rome, that extended Rome's empire. You know what I'm saying? So all these places became little city states of Rome. You know, that's what it means when they gave their power over to the beast, just like you have today. The revival of those horns. Shalom, bro. Yeah, but Shalom. You got the revival. You got the revival of those 10 toes came back as the 10 horns, the EU, which gave their power over unto what? The beast. All right. The modern day Roman Empire. Okay, which dominates the whole entire earth now. Because back then, the ancient Roman Empire, they, like I said, they conquered the known world. It's in these times that they got everything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's why Revelation 13:3 is when it said they wondered at the beast.
Yeah.
All the world.
I'm going to read verse 3 real quick. This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 3. It says, "And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season." So the old Roman Empire would be let loose again. You know, it would have to come back to fulfill prophecies. And we're living in the modern day Rome. You know,
right. And keep this in mind too. When Yahushua was dealing with the disciples, he was telling them that they was gonna have to prophesy again. The word was gonna be preached to the ends of the earth, to the other side, which is where we are now. Did not Paul talk about that falling away? All that is within this prophecy in Revelation 13 and Revelation 20 about that deadly wound being healed and the Roman Empire, that fourth beast, being knocked out and then revived.
Right.
You see, all that is how this comes together while everybody else is guessing. You see, the Lord gave us the understanding of, okay, this is what it's talking about. So we'll know how to warn the people.
Yep.
So,
Now, oh, go ahead.
can you hear me?
Con.
Con, it's Ecclesiastes. If brothers didn't get it already, this Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. It says, "The thing that had been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." So, like brothers is going into, just like people are reincarnated, even though people are reincarnated, empires are reincarnated as well, for lack of a better word. So Rome is playing this part all over again, and you know who's ruling Rome all over again? The new Rome, Esau, Edom. And you go to Psalms, if I'm not mistaken, Psalms 137, it'll tell you that Esau and Babylon are synonymous. Which what you said earlier, big bro, that these are so-called spiritually known as places. America is spiritually known as Babylon, is spiritually known as Rome as well. You know, you got
It's
it.
just like in Revelation when it says spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt, it can be
Yeah.
spiritually known as Nineveh and Rome.
Yeah.
It's interchangeable with the kingdoms, just like the elder brought out the nothing new being under the sun. You see, when you have an understanding of the scriptures, you realize that it's episode after it's like a binge in a series of the same show, right? From the fall of Adam all the way up until the return of Yahushua, it's a series of being delivered from captivity after captivity after captivity after captivity, right? Being put into captivity, praying for the Lord to get us out of it, getting up out of the captivity, going off again. It's just like every single captivity is an episode in the story of the Israelites. You got it.
You want to continue in Revelation 20?
I want to make sure we got the point out of there.
Okay.
Start at the top, I think, and read down to like 4.
I'm gonna pick up back at verse 3 again.
Okay.
It says, "And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled."
Right.
And
So the
after
Roman
that,
captivity, I would say Rome fell. Yep.
Mhm.
Rome fell. And then they was going to be risen back up. Go ahead.
And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
That little season started during the Renaissance, and it's going on now, and it's coming to the end. Go ahead.
Yeah. Verse 4, it says, "And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of Yahweh, which had not
Okay, that was the main point on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the main point on that, making sure we came up to the point to where the Roman Empire had fallen and was raised back up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now, having gone through that, this is how we can link America to Rome. We've done it prophetically. We've gone through the history just that quick, right? Lord willing, that was edifying. So now, having established that Rome was revived and is revived through America, now you see those similarities. You go into the Roman Empire history. You go into the history of America. You're gonna find all these different similarities, from the devaluing of the dollar, from the messed up roads. Plumbing goes back to Rome in certain areas. All these different things.
Apartment
You see?
complex.
The highways.
Yeah.
You see the Colosseums, the literature, the languages, the architecture. It's all the same thing.
The government structure.
Boom.
Yeah, because you had the plebeians and the patricians, and just like today, you have the Republican whole system of senates and a council is here again. The only thing with Rome, they did it like according to family lines. You know what I'm saying? If you're a family line and you were an elder, then you can get up in there. Now, if you got the bread, if you tell enough lies, if you're wicked enough, and the elite wants you, they're gonna put you in place. I got some more similarities. I can just read them off real quick. Number 1, staggering increase of cost of elections with dubious campaign funding sources. politics and the road to personal wealth. This is the main one I want to touch on. Continuous war. A national state of security arises, distracting attention from domestic challenges with foreign wars. Similar to the late Roman Republic, the U.S. for the past 100 years has either been fighting a war, recovering from a war, or preparing for a new war. World War I, 1917, 1918, World War II, 41 to 45, the Cold War from 47 to 91, the Korean War from 50 to 53, Vietnam 53 to 75, the Gulf War 90 to 91, Afghanistan 2001 to ongoing, Iraq 2003 to 2011, and the list is far from complete. Yeah, because one thing I don't see on here is Operation Desert Storm.
That was 92.
Okay, yeah, that was
91,
okay.
92.
Yeah, so right around the time of the Gulf War, that was in the
Yeah.
early 90s. So there's a
Yep.
lot that wasn't even mentioned. You know what I'm saying? And America's military is spread too thin, so it's bound to fall. If all your forces are outside the gate fighting battles, who the hell's supposed to fight inside? And a golden iron dome ain't gonna work. Because when you read in Revelation 17, if you could get that, bro, can go to Revelation 17. Because like I was saying about this guy, these people, they post all these similarities about Rome, but they think Rome is going to bounce back again. They think Rome's going to fall and then America's going to come back. No, it said it's supposed to go into perdition. It says the eighth is supposed to go into perdition. That's America.
Yeah, but it ain't two deadly wounds.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's only one. It only talks about one deadly wound being healed. It don't talk about another one.
Right. You can start it. You can start at verse 8.
this is Revelation.
The point is in like verse 12 or verse 11 and 12.
All right. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 8. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world.
Yeah, it's going into that Renaissance, coming out of the Renaissance. All right. 1300s. That's what that's talking about.
When they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is. Verse 9, and here is the mind which, you about to say something, Zaquan?
No, you got it.
Okay, verse 9. What's that? Verse 9, it says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, of which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must come a short space.
Right. So these are the empires leading up to what you call the Romans. Okay. You got the Greeks, Germanian Major, Germanian Minor, with the Spanish, the French. Then you got the Romans.
Yep.
And later on, you had the British and what came out of British America, which was just a revival of Rome. All right. Because remember, Rome took down all these, they conquered the Gauls and these different Slavic nations.
Visigoths, all them niggas.
Yeah, Visigoth and all that, they conquered all that, because remember you had an Eastern Roman Empire and you had a Western Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got to remember this. All right. It was completely different. Okay. Go ahead, bro.
So verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.
Yep, see, that's 7. That will say that 8th being of the 7th is talking about British to America.
Yeah.
You got it.
Verse 12.
That's why they had that Revolutionary War.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, they didn't win. Right? If I'm not mistaken, I don't think they won.
They pretty much got kicked. They pretty much got kicked out of goddamn. They got kicked out of. On their way over here, it was a boot to their ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't leave. They got kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they'll tell you a different narrative with the founding fathers.
Yeah, they fought for their freedom and all that jive.
Mm-hmm. You can read down to verse 13, bro.
Verse 12.
But
And
you can
the
read
10
14.
horns.
Lucky.
What's that?
You can read the 14.
Con. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
Right, and that's
These have
again,
one.
that's the EU, the European Union. Well, what we know is that we're European Union today, because when it was established, it started off with just a few. All right. I used to have the exact years that everybody got added, but at one point there was only 10 nations a part of it for a long period of time. And then all these other nations started getting added to it because there were 10 flags. The elders and apostles talk about it all the time. There were only 10 flags outside of the EU building for the longest time. All right. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Which links up with Revelation, the 13th chapter, how the beast received that power, because Rome wouldn't be able to operate without these other nations bending the knee first. They would have to say, no, you can have our power, you can have our resources, you can use our land, you could change the way that we believe, as long as you don't F us up too bad, if we're in allegiance with you, and that gave Rome power, just like how America has power. That's why, and they created NATO, just in case the USSR, formerly the USSR, would come back again. You know what I'm saying? And build up and try to, take over, which that's about to happen again. All right. The Medes are going to destroy Babylon, or Rome, if you will. All right.
And verse 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And
Now
they
keep in
that
mind,
are
when you go back in history, when Yahweh and the disciples was on the scene, they was under the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
God.
You see? So that's another similarity. Heavy persecution of the church. You see? The murder of the Messiah, the murder of his men. That's another similarity. You got it?
Yep, the Great Awakening, man. The high influx of men of the Lord, all right, preaching, all right, the truth of who we are, and that a standing kingdom was set to go down. In verse 14 again, it says, these shall make war, verse 14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings.
See, that's the point. That goes back to verse, what was it, verse 11, shall go into perdition. The reason why it's going to go into perdition is because of Yahushua. All right. That's what we're saying. Rome fell and America is going to fall too. Let's follow in the same patterns. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing the same patterns, following the same patterns as someone as an alcoholic, well, damn, you're going to end up in the AA meetings. You know what I'm saying? You're going to end up getting a DUI. You're going to end up getting locked up. It's the same thing. If you follow the patterns of somebody that's a spiritual man of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, well, guess what? You're going to increase in learning. You're going
to in the straight gate.
Right. The straight gate. You can go the broad way or the straight gate. And guess the broad way leads to destruction. The Esau's got everything mapped out for you here to be destroyed, just like in ancient Rome. That's why they had to convert all of our people over to the Greekish fashion way before Yahushua's time. Rome was already up and running. So that's why you have another thing too. People who try to talk Gentiles this and Gentiles that, let's go into Galatians and go into Ephesians. No, let's go into the Hasmonean dynasty. Let's go back into the Maccabees. How did Rome get great? Where did they draw their power from? Because Esau is a culture vulture. He didn't just come to America and start making stuff up. He named Memphis after the Memphis in Egypt. And like the guy said in the video, there's a Rome, Maryland. Hey, we might have to go check that out. Who knows what the hell they got in Rome, Maryland, But the Lord is going to destroy all this. There's no way that you can fight multiple battles and think that you can defend a home base. And that's what's going on. All right.
All right, this is the latter end of verse 14. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Read that one more time.
This is, and they that, when we read from the top of 14,
Just that last part you just read.
and they that are with him are called, those that with who? With the Lamb, Yahweh Shai. All right. It says, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
You see, called, chosen, and faithful. You see, if you called, you chosen, and you faithful, the understanding of these scriptures and these precepts is how you gonna be able to say that America is the Roman revival being is the Roman Rome being revived through America. You see, it's all about the prophecy. We understand the prophecies. You see, it's only a few men on the planet that can go through what we're going through.
Right.
You see, the spirit jumped on the elder to say, you know what? Let's go into the similarities of Rome and America. And that's based off his understanding of prophecy. It's based off our understanding of prophecy. You see, that's why you got the precepts coming from different areas. Everybody got their own perspective on the same thing. You see, so most similarities. You see, when we read Revelation chapter 13. It's talking about that beast, that man, right? That beast is talking about a man that has a divided house, trying to impose his will on the prophecy. That's what's happening, and it's not working. Why? Because the prophets are here. See, how you gonna twist up the prophecy when you got prophets on the scene? The scriptures talk about false prophets and prophets. You see, and you seeing that battle play out. That's another thing that was going on during the time of Rome. All these other doctrines was on the scene when the Lord was on the scene, just like it is now. But the persecution, how you think we know to look for persecution? Because there's nothing new under the sun. We know what time we in. You got it.
A quick precept for you.
I got something too.
Yeah. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to the pulling down of strongholds. And that's what we were set up to do with this word. All right. We wasn't given this to get in a militant mind frame. All right. Try to rise up and take over America. No, we were supposed to, all right, go into a spiritual battle, which we're in. All right, tearing down all the lies, all the false philosophies and doctrines, all right, that's been pushed out, all right, through the revised Roman Empire, man. That's why we such as an enemy to this man's kingdom, because we're the only ones who can validate what we can say and what we're saying through the scriptures.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why you got all these other groups. You got all these other groups that be like, ain't nobody got 100% truth. Why would you say that?
Right.
Like, even if you are trying to fill your own belly, right? You trying to fill your own belly. You lying to the people about everything else to fill your own belly. Why would you tell them you got the 100% truth, right? Because spiritually, you know you don't, so you can't do that. We're gonna use these gimmicks to get this money.
Yep.
We're not gonna be able to tell these people the truth and get no money. You see? So having said that, you got false prophets and prophets. You got it.
I got a little.
Yeah,
I got a little fact here because if you can get Psalms 49 and 11, and I'm going to read this because I asked AI, and of course AI is going to lie. And I put, did ancient Rome try to hide the fact that it was falling from its citizens? And I'm just going to jump to conclusion here. It's saying that it didn't, but it did at the same time. Like, it's crazy. Ancient Rome didn't hide its fall the way a modern regime might cover up a crisis. But emperors and elites used propaganda, public works, and carefully curated narratives to maintain the image of imperial strength and stability, often long after things had started to unravel. So,
Man, say, dog.
bro, that's going on right now. Please read Psalms 49:11. I'm gonna read that again after you read this.
Wow.
This is Psalm 49 and 11.
Bro, the
Their
90s is
inward thought,
over. Salakia, you know the 90s was it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's 2 decades later. We're not going back to the 90s where you can get 3 or 4 jobs and still have energy to go to the club. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Man, they got 3 baby mamas and 3 jobs. Yeah.
Right.
hairline. It's Psalm 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
You see that? It says ancient Rome didn't hide its fall the way modern regime might cover up a crisis. But emperors and elites used propaganda, public works, and carefully curated narratives to maintain the image of imperial strength and stability, often long after things had started to unravel. And I looked at that public works, it made me think of George Soros. You know what I'm saying? Because what he'll do is he'll pay agents. You know, he has a whole company to pay agents to go out and make it seem like things are okay, or go out there and cause chaos. You know, which he's just another a finger, a puppet of the elites. You know, George Soros is low level.
Yeah, another similarity too is the way they utilize bread and circuit to distract the people from what's going on within the politics.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you go back, you watch a lot of those ancient Roman movies. All right, you would always see them congregating in the back, and they would give orders to get the Coliseum cracked up. We need a major event, okay, so we can distract the people while we go behind the scenes and make some stuff happen.
Yeah.
And you got the plebeians. You got to say just like you got the plebeians and patricians, you got the Democrats and the Republicans. You see, and it's and both sides are pretty much in a race to see who's going to rule.
Yeah.
You see, Roman Empire fell before the winner was declared.
Yeah.
Right. So now with the Democrats and the so-called Democrats and Republicans, it's a divided house racing to see who's going to rule. Right, which side is going to rule? It's the same thing. You got it.
I gotta. Go ahead, Zanella.
This is another spiritual similarity are the people themselves, us. This is John 13 and 16 to a point earlier. It says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him." So we're not greater than Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai went through persecution and suffering during the Roman Empire. We're going to go through persecution and suffering through the revival of the Roman Empire all over again. Remember, the scripture says, "For also our Lord was crucified." So he was crucified during the Roman Empire. It's the Roman Empire all over again.
Right.
Right, and we always talk about the different time periods that is happening again. You see, the Book of Acts all over again, the time of Maccabees all over again, the time of Judges all over again. It's because it's actually happening. Through the Spirit, we can see, okay, well, this is what happened during this time. Bro, from the fall of Adam up until the return of Yahweh Shai, it's detailed.
Don't we make up the church? Don't we make up the body of Yahweh Shai all over again?
That's right.
That's the thing. The church makes up the body of Yahweh Shai all over again. So if Yahweh Shai was crucified during the Roman Empire, then the church, the people, once again, are going to be tested, tried, put through the ringer. This time through the revival of the Roman Empire, known as America.
Yeah, but you can't forget about the sexual immorality. You see, all those in every single captivity that's been the case. During the time of Habakkuk and those prophets in that time frame, you had cross-dressing politicians.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You go to Grok and type in any question you want to regarding them similarities, it's gonna come up with all kind of stuff that we've been saying already.
Yeah, Julius Caesar was known to be a cross-dresser.
You know? So everything, I would say everything, every generation. That's why Romans 15:4 says, think all these things were written aforetime for our learning. You see, to know what to do when these situations arise. And it's just like I said, the Bible is a binge watching series, pretty much. You see, and we coming up on the conclusion of we coming on the series finale, which is
Yeah.
going to be Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai delivering the Israelites, the elect of the nation of Israel, and destroying our enemies. We coming up on the. That's what I'm saying. And we get the trailer. It's us coming out here telling you.
Yeah.
You get a daily trailer, nigga.
Yeah. We're in the midst of the conflict right now.
Yeah, we are.
At the stages of a movie, we're in the midst of the conflict. It's about to
Yeah.
get heightened.
Let me read this real quick because I typed in another question on AI. The elder brother Yagadol said, why did the bread and circuses stop working in ancient Rome? I'm just going to read the bullet points. It says 1, economic collapse, 2, military and political crisis, 3, decline of urban centers, 4, rise of Christianity, 5, bread and circuses couldn't solve deeper problems. But the one that stood out to me was number 4, the rise of Christianity.
Yep.
See, we got to realize who the real Christians are and who's really rising. What number one truth is really rising? What's the number one threat? It's us. It's what we're proclaiming. We're linking America with ancient Rome and showing you in the scriptures in Revelation that they're not going to show you in churches. And these scriptures show you that what? This Rome that we're living in is going to be destroyed. That's the real good news. That's the Tawad Debarim. That's the gospel. That's what a real Christians should be speaking. All right. The Hamashiach.
Yeah. The angels rejoiced in the spirit world, man, when the seals was broken.
Yeah.
You know? So that whole it's a precept saying something about it is sealed, it is sealed. You know what I'm saying? Going into that's what I'm saying. It's telling you. You had
Yeah.
false prophets back then, you got false prophets now. Even in Rome. Yeah, even in Rome, you had people that was teaching against the prophets. They was teaching against the Lord.
Yep.
Same thing now.
I got a precept.
Come on.
First Maccabees, I can read it. 8 and verse 15. It says, moreover, let me start up here. Okay. First Maccabees 8 and 9. I'm going to read down quick. It says, moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them. I'll read the preface of this chapter. It says, Judas is informed of the power and policy of the Romans and maketh a league with them, the articles of the league. And I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them, and that they, having knowledge thereof, sent against them a certain captain, and fighting with them, slew many of them, and carried away captives their wives, their children, and spoils, and took possession of their lands, and pulled down their strongholds, and brought them to be their servants unto this day. It was told him besides how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms, isles that at any time resisted them. But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept enmity, and that they had conquered kingdoms, both far and nigh, insomuch as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. And that's funny because Trump just said, he said, I could have did something he said, Putin better be very careful because it could have got real bad for him a long time ago. He recently just said that in the news, and then he's also boasting, Trump was boasting about taking Greenland. He doesn't want to have to do it by force, but he will if he has to, It just makes me think of that. Verse 13, it says, also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displace. Finally, that they were greatly exalted. Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end that they might be well ordered. And that's just how it's set up here. There a Senate House. There's two or three representatives from every single state, and they're so-called doing the same thing.
And it takes all of that. It takes all of that to maintain a government which is controlling the minds of the people.
There you
Right?
go.
Govern means to control, mente going in the mind. So to control the minds of the people, they need that type of conglomerate, that type of combination of minds, so to speak,
Yeah.
which is all of the wicked.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
It's a wicked think tank.
you know. So once when the earth is given into the hands of the righteous, that government that's going to be on the shoulders of Yahushua is going to be all it's going to be all righteous. It's 144,000, 12,000 kings and priests from each tribe. You see, equaling 144,000 to govern the mind of the people, to control the minds of the people in righteousness. You see, that's what this is all about. You see, but that starts with having the understanding to say that Rome, the revival, is America. And at this point in time in the prophecy, we closer and closer and closer to our salvation being at hand. Somebody get what's that? High time to wake out of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
See, with it being high time to wake out of sleep, we are awakened to the fact spiritually that this place is the revival of that place. Right? That's why we here. You see? So spiritually, once you done caught up to the fact that this is where we are, okay, now what do we look for, Lord? And that's when you seeing the rising up of the nations being stirred up. You see? The nuclear, the Smith that blow at the coals, that's already been set up. So all we need, I said, we're an attitude or two away. You know what I'm saying? From the angels working on the minds of men to the prophecy being fulfilled on Jacob's trouble, the MOTB, and World War III.
Yeah.
All those prophecies are brewing up right now. You see? And being able to understand that Rome was revived into America, you know that the things that you're seeing line up. You got it.
That's it. Hey, this is the time that all our forefathers looked to. We're living through the visions that they were falling sick behind. All right, trying to figure out what was this vision I saw. We living it. We breathing it. This is Romans 13 and 11. And that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed.
I was saying, so how would you know that our salvation is nearer than when we believe if you're not watching?
Exactly.
You see, the difference between us and everybody else is that we've been commanded to watch. You see, we in the lot of the watchers. You see, they in the lot that everybody's in their lot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got it.
Yeah, you a watcher or a sleeper. One of them dumb dogs not barking.
Yeah.
That's it.
You got another precept for you?
Done.
This is Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 14. Wherefore he said, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Mashiach shall give thee light. And what is the light? The knowledge, wisdom, understanding. All right, that's what woke us up to now we see, man, okay, that life that we thought we was all at one point pursuing a life in Babylon. All right, in some way, fashion, or form, we say that was a big relief to get this understanding and say, okay, this shit wasn't it. No, we got a greater promise, man, but we got a fight ahead of us, man.
I got a precept to follow up with that. Ecclesiasticus of Sirach 13 and 13. It says, observe and take good heed, for thou walkest in the peril of thy overthrowing. When thou hearest these things, awake in thy sleep. So you got all these other nations slowly starting to point the finger at America. And you average so-called Negroes, like I'm speaking to you Israelites, you average so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we're on all your cities. We're on all your cities in the main area. There's no excuse that you haven't heard this truth. Use the internet. Even if you don't see us, you're seeing other Israelite groups on World Star and podcasts and stuff like that. And for the most part, they're telling you who you are, you know? That should send a light bulb off in your head, like, hold on, you know? But you're not observing, they're not taking good heed. So you're going to, like we did in that other video, you're going to get destroyed in the grave.
Just like Yahushua said, he said, he that has ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit say unto the churches. You see, those that hear going into understanding or perceiving a thing. Look, the Lord say, look, if you understand, let's go. If you don't understand, we going anyway.
Yeah, he didn't run it. Read it. Well, let me get Habakkuk.
I found that article too about
Well, you got
apartment
it.
building.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it says beginning in ancient Rome, a brief history of apartments. Um, and apartment living. It says apartment living has not always been luxurious. Present day apartments have ample amenities, friendly staff, and regular maintenance. This was not always the case. Now, this is kind of what it looked like back then. You know, it says apartment living dates back to ancient Rome. Apartments in ancient Rome were called insula and looked very different to the upscale buildings we have. Insulas were typically 4 to 6 stories, and history tells us they were very dangerous. Fires were common, and insula could simply collapse. These buildings typically had shops and vendors on the bottom floor, just like you see today, with apartments above. The top floor dwellings were the cheapest to rent because they were regarded as most dangerous. Now,
Man,
imagine, dude, it makes sense why they were so dangerous. You got a shop cooking food down there, you know. If that architecture isn't built correctly, of course, that thing's gonna come on down. And that's why Rome was wicked, because in the law, statutes, and the commandments it says we're not supposed to build our home more than 2 stories, if I'm not mistaken, more than 2 stories high, and then on the top floor you're supposed to have a call it a bulwark, basically a railing, so nobody will fall off.
Yeah, but when you got Esau ruling, rebellion happens.
Yeah, that
and
was it.
even
I just want to point that point out. They have projects in Rome, bro.
and that's what, and that's the thing. You think about it. Anything more than 3 stories, that's not a survivable fall. You know what
Yeah.
No,
I'm
no, no amount of parkour is gonna help you out with that shit.
You know what I'm saying? And then I never saw actually where it say in the law not to build a story 3 stories or more. I always
Yeah,
heard that, but I never actually found it. So, but it
I
makes sense
got you.
though. It makes
Yeah,
sense. Like, come on, man. Like, you see what happened with it when people was jumping out the buildings on 9/11. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If that building wasn't that tall, shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit, that should save lives. The law saves
Hey,
lives.
apartments are death traps.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
people,
man.
when fires start, they can't get out.
Even in neighborhoods where the house is too close together. You know what I'm saying? In Dallas, they got certain neighborhoods to where you got houses that are built fucking less than 5 feet apart. Like you can walk, you got to slide in between houses. You know what I'm saying? They literally that close. So if one catch fire, the next one gonna catch fire. You know what I'm saying? They built houses with an apartment mentality. I was like, what the fuck, man?
It was planned.
Yeah.
I think I'm about to find it.
You had another article you wanted?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Y'all got any other precepts y'all had?
No, that was it. What I'm gonna do is, and I'm gonna post it in the comment boards. But there's a scripture. If I'm not mistaken, it's either 2 stories or 3 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's either 2 or 3 stories. But I'm gonna find it out. It's in the law. It's in the laws. I saw one that came up in Ezekiel and it said 3 stories, but that's not this. It's in the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm gonna find it though.
Yeah. I was like, you'll probably be better out finding that one in the GNT or one of them other versions.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of was looking at another one as the brother was saying that. I was trying to look it up. I think First Kings 6 and 8 around there might say it, might reference it, and also when he was building the ark, it wasn't 4 stories if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that tall either. But I wanted to get this precept. This is Romans 13 and verse 12, continuing off where Yagadol went. It says, "The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light." And the reason why, to Elder Yatazak's point, the reason why these people can't see it is because they didn't put off the works of darkness.
Right.
At the end of the day, men love darkness rather than light. Just like in the since we talking about the Romans, we got to remember that the Greeks were a part of the Romans in a sense, the Greco-Roman Empire. When the Greeks came on the scene, people loved to do the bidding of the Greeks or the way of the Greeks. All right, and the way of the Greeks is pretty much pure fucking darkness. So at the end of the day, you have to put off the darkness, and then you can receive these things if it be the Lord's will. Well, the elect are going to receive it. All right.
Yeah, that's all I had. You know, it's pretty evident. Oh well, then another other things too. Just like in DC, Rome had 7 major hills, and DC has 7 hills. And on every single hill, there's a statue of a Edomite, you know, or a conquistador, and they're scattered throughout all the city. You know, like there's one in DuPont Circle. There's one in a place called Farragut. You know, if you're anybody out there familiar with the DC area, you know there's 7 hills, basically 7 main hills in DC, high points. You know, and from those points you can see a good. They have it structured to where if you stand on that hill, you can see a clear shot of certain parts of the city. Like if a DuPont, I think you can see the White House if I'm not mistaken, or you can see all the way down to the phallic symbol, the monument. You know. But that's pretty much it, unless I can got any other precepts.
You guys had two quick scriptures just associating Esau with the symbol of the eagle, all right, which was a symbol of Rome, okay, which they even had a movie, all right, called The Eagle, all right, which is the same symbol, animal symbol, all right, for America. But this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. All right, and just precept on that with Obadiah, the 4th chapter, 4th verse. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, all right, and this is going into Edom. Okay, who Edom was ruling Rome and ruling the revised Roman Empire. All right, but it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So ancient Rome was wounded, but not unto death. But now this is going to be wounded completely to death, man.
That's it. Hey, Rome fell and America will too, man. It's prophecy. Yep. You know? So at the end of the day, if you don't understand the prophecies, then hey, you subject to them, whether you understand them or not. You know? What if some don't believe? We don't care. We don't care. We believe Yahweh Shem Yahushai, not right. You. Right. Nah, all the similarities is there. We see it through the spirit. It's playing out live on the earth. Y'all got anything else?
No, that was it. You know, yeah, like you said, we weren't commanded to beg our people to believe. You know, we were commanded to threaten you through persuading. You know, it says compel them that his house may be fulfilled, but compelling and begging are 2 different things. You know, it's 2 different things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. With that, again, want to give all praises unto our power. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kodash, that's the Most High, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Of course, peace and blessings and to the household of faith out there, everybody that's about the mind while mouth, and sincerity and truth, the Akim, Akwatim, Abanim Yasha'Allah, Bakayarim Yasha'Allah, and double honors to our elders and apostles that came back in the reincarnation, because reincarnation is real, all the elders and bishops, the water for your labor, and double honors to you all, a great millstone. Hey, shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom.